today's council conversation, we have L.J. Bryant. L.J. Is the newest member of the city council, and so therefore a lot of people may not know a whole lot about your background. L.J., can you tell us about go back to childhood and tell us about your route to the city council?
Sure.
And what drew you into this service?
Yeah, you know, I've always loved public service, even as a kid. I went to school at Wiener, but I actually more lived at Grubbs. And there was a guy named Jack Critcher who was president pro tem of the state senate back in the day, and he was mayor of Grubbs at the time. So I sort of followed him along the way, paging, etc. And then when he was pro tem of the senate years ago, I worked in the state senate, and then ever since then, just had a passion for public service.
And I know you've been in campaigns and politics and things, but you feel like this is something, a way to really serve your community. And
yeah, it's different being on the other side, and I say that in a positive way.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're really lucky to have 12 people that, and what's great about council is with it being nonpartisan, everybody really comes to the table open-minded and tries to make the best decision. And that's not to say that we all agree every time, because we all have our own ideas, but nonetheless, it's been impressive to work with everybody.
Well, tell me what myths maybe have been shot down, what you expected and didn't find to be true, or vice versa.
Yeah, so I would say one thing is that I think all council members take their job seriously, and that nobody's trying to talk to each other or collude. Everybody's independently trying to make their own decision, and that everybody in city government is very helpful when we have questions to try to find all the information we need to make an important decision.
That's a really good point, because I've worked in several states, and I think Arkansas has one of the strictest laws about meeting outside of groups. Most states have laws where obviously you can't have a quorum outside, but I think you guys aren't even allowed to discuss stuff more than 2 people.
Yeah, so I mean, I try to take that super seriously. I mean, I really don't have any contact with these guys unless I bump into them at Starbucks or something, but beyond that, we're independent and try to make our decisions, and when we have something to say, come together and discuss it with cameras right here to discuss it with the people.
And that's kind of what's cool, because sometimes it seems that things don't go smoothly. But that's the way real life is, and that to me is the proof that that this is a live take. This is the first time that 12 different leaders are discussing a topic that's important to the audience and to the residents of Jonesboro.
And what's cool is to see the people show up. I had been to council meetings before in isolated incidents, obviously not on a regular basis, but people come to the council meetings, and when people have something to say, they'll let you know.
And that's not always the case. I've lived in cities where every seat was packed each week, and I've lived in cities where there were more people behind the counter than in the crowd.
Yeah.
So I think Jonesboro has a good participation. I think you want people more than just those invested in that night's setting, because sometimes it can skew the whole public sentiment.
Yeah.
How do you address that? How do you know, even if you've got an issue involving a neighborhood and everyone from that neighborhood is attending the meeting, you're going to get the feeling that you need to please them.
Yeah.
Do you have a filter?
Well, you have to, and there's a balance between pleasing the people in the room, which might be 60 or 80 people, and then there's the other 70,000 people that live in town. So you try to ascertain as to whether or not those 60 or 80 people are reflective of the 70,000. And so I think of several instances recently. There was a rezoning on Harrisburg Road of Sid Pickles' property that was already zoned multifamily, and he changed it to a planned unit development. And there was a lot of people in the room that were opposed to it, but in actuality, we all voted in unison because it actually reduced the density of multifamily when you really got down to the facts of it. So there's been instances like that where I'm sure people might have thought we didn't really go their way, but we all had to do what we thought was best for Jonesboro.
There are some hot button items right now. Rezoning tends to be one of the biggest points of contention. And there are things you can do, and there are things that the law requires you to not do. Can you talk about a little bit about how you navigate and exactly what it is that you have to show to make a rezoning happen or to prevent it from happening?
Sure. So I'd say a few things about that. Obviously, we don't want to be arbitrary and capricious, as it is said, quote unquote.
That's been a judge's ruling.
Yeah, that's been a judge's ruling.
That's been accused of.
Yeah, exactly. And so, so I guess there's several elements of that. And one element of that would be being careful what you say.
Right.
So I think that, at least for me, and I think other council members, is you try to make your decision, but particularly as it relates to rezoning, if that footage is going to wind up being used in a courtroom, I mean, not to say that we don't want to make the decisions based upon the facts and based upon the merits of the law,
right,
but sometimes your words can be misinterpreted. So I think on rezonings, you have to be particularly cautious. And we've got a good city attorney that advises us of those things, and among other things along the way, to make sure that we comply with the law. And that applies to emergency clauses too. So I guess it's interesting for us as a body is to try to make the right decisions, but also make it within the confines of the law.
Right, and that city attorney is Carol Duncan, and she and her assistant, Jessica Thomason, and I think they do a great job of it, because a lot of us have to lean on them, I think, and I'm sure that the council does as well. We've said that rezoning is an issue. Another one that comes up a lot is sidewalks. Yeah. Tell me how you feel about sidewalks and why it's a controversy right now.
Yeah, so I guess the controversy, because maybe it's a new concept to Jonesboro. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but if you watch Andy Griffith, I love Andy Griffith. I mean, they've got kind of chat streets, chat driveways, but they got their concrete sidewalks,
right.
That's so, right. I mean, it's a concept as old as time, and I use Church Street a lot, obviously coming to City Hall and even other things. I eat at Sue's Kitchen a lot, and when I'm coming down, there's sidewalks on both sides of the road, right. And I pretty consistently see people, whether it's a person in a wheelchair or whether it's a child. And so I think it's important, and we have to start somewhere. And I think Councilman Moore made an important point a couple days ago at Public Works, that even in a single-family subdivision, when all the kids get dumped off the bus and there's hundreds of children, you don't want them walking down the road. So I think we've got to find a way to have sidewalks, because there's more ways to get around Jonesboro than just a car. So we've got to be pedestrian friendly, we've got to be friendly to bicyclists, and I would say in general, the chicken and egg thing has flipped, where millennials are looking for a place to live and then they find a job. So we got to make sure Jonesboro is a place that people want to work and live.
We need to make Jonesboro a destination that's attractive to the next generation. Yeah. So that's, and sidewalks have proven to be a way to do that.
And we need to find balance. I mean, I know I had gotten some emails from chamber type folks that had some concerns about some of the industrial requirements. So again, kind of back to what you said, we want to remove any biases from anybody anywhere, whether what segment they're in, whether they're a developer, a builder, a realtor, which I am, and try to find what's right for Jonesboro, in particular as it relates to public safety. Right.
And you're talking about sidewalks, you're talking about quality of life, and I think that's another big issue that's going on in the city. What quality of life products are you most interested in seeing happen?
Yeah, so I'd say a few things. I mean, I'm excited about the new shooting range being on one end of town, Joe Matt Campbell's on the other. So kind of regardless of which way you enter Jonesboro, you've got a pretty big visualization of who we are from a parks perspective, and then certainly Craighead Forest as a destination. So, I mean, we have to continue to enhance those things. Obviously, we just bought more acreage for Craighead Forest, so we need to have plans, and obviously we have an open parks director position open, so I think it'll be important who the mayor puts there, and I know he'll be cautious and make the right pick there for us to have a vision. It's obviously softball and tournaments, all those things are important, but we've also got to think bigger than just that.
Right.
But in the confines of a budget too, so there's a lot of constraints to all those things.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Anything else that you'd like to talk about?
No, I just appreciate the opportunity to be here, Bill, and you've been very kind to me. Enjoyed working with you.
All right. Well, I will say thank you to L.J. Bryant, and we're glad to have you on the council in the city of Jonesboro, and tell people how to connect with you if they want to.
Yeah, sure. So easiest way, certainly people are welcome to call me. 501 I've got an old cell phone from the days where we had one area code, 501-412-3930. And my city email is lbryant, B-R-Y-A-N-T, so lbryant@jonesboro.org.
Wonderful. Thank you very much,
Thanks,
LJ.
Bill. Appreciate it.
Enjoyed it. Thanks.